Let me say what nobody on your timeline has the spine to say out loud, because everybody is too busy clipping the sound bites and chasing the algorithm to actually look at the wreckage you two are leaving behind. Papoose, Clarissa, sit down. The mask is slipping in real time in front of cameras, in front of mic stands, in front of the same internet that watched you build the whole illusion brick by shaky brick. And I am not here to be cute about it. I am here because somebody has to stand in the middle of the circus and turn the lights all the way up. So leave a like right now if you are tired of being lied to in interview after interview. Leave a like if you remember who Pap used to be before he became the man we are watching shrink in 4K. Leave a like if you've been waiting for somebody to stop tiptoeing and just say the thing. Because today, we are saying the thing. All of it. Out loud. With names attached. No filters, no PR coats, no tiptoeing around the very obvious truth that has been sitting on the kitchen table for months while everybody pretended it was a centerpiece. The plates are dirty. The candles are melted. The dinner is cold. And somebody has to be the adult in this room and finally start clearing the table. Somebody has to be the one who walks up, looks the host in the eye, and says, the food was never good, the wine was watered down, and the conversation has been a lie since the appetizers. Here is what is really going on. Pap goes on Tamron Hall and frames the whole two fights situation as if he was the one who pushed the idea. He plays the gentle protector. He plays the reluctant supporter. He plays the man who just wants peace and a baby and a quiet little legacy. Then the cameras shift to a different stage, a different mic, a different angle, and suddenly the script flips. Now it was her idea. Now she was the one who wanted the second fight. Now Pap is the bystander who is just along for the ride, just nodding, just shrugging, just shifting the weight of every uncomfortable decision onto the woman he claims to be in love with. Pick a story, Pap. Pick one, because the version you sold the daytime audience and the version you are selling the late-night podcast circuit cannot both be true at the same time. Somebody is lying, and the smell is loud. Loud enough that even the fans who used to defend every move you made are starting to stay quiet in the comment sections, because defending two opposite stories at once is a job nobody volunteered for. Nobody's getting paid enough to keep up with the script changes. Not even you. Not even your closest cousins in the comment army. Not even the bloggers who used to retweet your every move with heart eye emojis attached. That is not a small thing. That is the entire architecture of this rebrand. He is trying to be the nice guy, and the alpha, and the supportive partner, and the man who never wanted any of this attention, all at once in the same week. The mask is too heavy for one face, so it cracks. It cracks every time he opens his mouth, and the more he talks, the more the cracks turn into canyons. How far are you willing to take this charade, Pap? How long do you think this performance lasts before the audience starts demanding their money back? Because the people who used to write for you, the ones who screamed your name when Remy was locked up, the ones who held you up as the blueprint of loyalty, the ones who said you were the standard, those people are not yelling for you anymore. They're watching, quietly, with folded arms, and that silence should be the loudest thing in your house right now. Silence from your old supporters is not peace. Silence from your old supporters is the warning shot before the verdict. Pay attention to it, Pap. Pay close attention, because by the time the warning becomes the verdict, the appeal window is already closed, and nobody appeals on behalf of a man who would not appeal on behalf of his own integrity. Let us talk about the Pap we thought we knew, because the version of Pap that lived in our heads 10 years ago does not match the man standing in front of these cameras today. We thought you were the loyal one, the one who held it down when nobody else would, the one who carried Remy through every hearing, every appeal, every cold visiting room, every birthday she missed. We watched you do that. We respected you for it. And here's the part nobody wants to admit out loud. A lot of us were leaning on you. A lot of us were using you as proof that black love could survive the system, that a man could stand on business when everything around him was crumbling. That was the brand. That was the legend. And now you're out here doing every single thing you used to act like was beneath you. Flashing money, flashing chains, flashing those loud Versace shirts that look like a slot machine threw up on a hanger, yelling about beating somebody up. Bragging on camera, drinking out the bottle for the cameras, posting like a young rapper with something to prove, performing for an audience that you used to claim you did not need, begging for a relevance that you used to insist was beneath your pen, and smiling the entire time like the smile is going to make the rest of us forget the man you used to claim you were. And the question is not whether you are allowed to live your life. The question is, was this always who you were? Was the loyal husband, the patient father, the quiet pen, all of that? Was it just a costume you wore until the spotlight finally turned in your direction? Because it's starting to look like the answer is yes. It is starting to look like you spent 20 years pretending to be too dignified for the very lifestyle you secretly wanted the whole time. And the second the door cracked, you sprinted through it. The Versace was waiting, the bottles were waiting, the flashbulbs were waiting, and you said yes to all of it. Every single piece, while telling us with a straight face that you are still the same humble, principled man we always knew. The act is not just slipping. The act has fallen into the orchestra pit, and the audience is starting to clap for the wrong reasons. They are clapping at the fall. They are clapping at the spectacle. They are not clapping for you anymore. They are clapping at you. There is a universe of difference between those two sentences, and you are living in the wrong one right now, and the wrong one has no encore. Sir, we have eyes. We have ears. We have receipts, and the receipts have receipts, and the receipts are getting screenshots from people who do not even like the topic, just to keep the file thick. The file is thick. The file is folder thick. The file is so thick that the timeline could write a book about you and still have leftover footnotes for a sequel. This is the part where envy stops being a whisper and starts being the whole song. Because when you sneered, and yes, you sneered, when you talked about Jay-Z being just all right as a rapper, that was not a hot take. That was a confession. That was 20 years of feeling overlooked spilling out of your face in real time. You did not say it the way a confident man says it. You said it the way a man says it when he has been gripping resentment in his fist for so long that the muscle memory finally betrayed him. You meant it. The whole face meant it. And once we saw that face, the rest of the act stopped landing. Because now every flashy chain looks like an apology to your younger self. Every Versace fit looks like a receipt from a vending machine of validation. Every loud bar and a freestyle sounds like a man finally cashing in the recognition he convinced himself the world stole from him. You wanted this. You always wanted this. You just dressed it up in humility because humility was the only currency that worked back then. And now the currency has changed, and you're spending the new one with both hands and an open coat. And every time the change hits the floor, the cameras zoom in, and you smile for the lens, and we lose another inch of the man we thought we knew. Inch by inch, frame by frame, interview by interview. Now let's turn to Clarissa. And listen, this is not personal. This is not me coming for the woman as a woman. Her work in the ring is hers. Her medals are hers. Her training is hers. Nobody can take that. But Clarissa, baby, you have to stop rewriting the timeline in front of the people who lived through it with their own eyes. You went on a platform recently and said something to the effect of, "Don't act like people are only paying attention to me because of Pap. I'm Clarissa. I'm somebody too." And yes, you are somebody. Your accolades are loud and they are documented, but let's speak the actual truth in the room. Before Pap, the only people who knew your name were the small but loyal corner of folks who actually watch women's boxing on a regular basis. That's no shade. Women's boxing has a tiny mainstream window and you know it. The rest of America did not know your face, did not know your voice, did not know your story, could not pick you out of a lineup if you were the only person in the lineup. That's not a slight, that's a stat. And stats don't flinch. Stats don't care about your feelings. Stats just sit there, neutral, factual, available, until somebody's brave enough to read them out loud. And today, the brave somebody is me. We knew Remy. We knew Pap. We knew the prison story. We knew the homecoming. We knew the love story they spent a decade selling us in interviews and on red carpets and at award shows. That was our story, too, in a strange way. We invested, we rooted, we cried when Remy came home. We laughed at the corny husband and wife banter. So when you stepped onto the scene through that doorway, you did not enter the conversation as a stranger with our own legend. You entered as the person who walked into the middle of one of the most beloved love stories in modern hip-hop. That's why the cameras turned. That's why the microphone swung your way. Pretending otherwise is not confidence. It is dishonesty wearing lipstick, and the lipstick is starting to smudge. And every interview where you double down on the lie smudges it a little more until the audience is no longer looking at the makeup, the audience is looking at what is underneath. And what is underneath is a story you have not made peace with yet. And here's the harder part, the part that the soft commentators will not say. People have moved past the Remy of it all. We did. We grieved that ending. We accepted it. Marriages end, people grow apart. That is life. So if you were just another woman who came after a divorce, this conversation would have ended 6 news cycles ago. You would not be a topic, you would just be a footnote. The reason you are still a topic is not because Remy was once Pap's wife. The reason you are still a topic is because you, on your own merit, on your own microphone, on your own social media buttons, keep doing the most. You keep disrespecting Remy, who has nothing to do with you anymore. You keep throwing barbs at Laila Ali, who is a literal pillar of the sport you claim to love. You keep dragging Shadasia Green into corners she did not ask to be in. You keep doing this thing where you try to pit one woman against another to elevate yourself. And the math is not mathing. The math has not been mathing for a long time, and you have stopped showing the work. You have stopped even pretending to show the work, and the audience that used to grade on a curve has finally closed the grade book. That is not Clarissa being Clarissa. That is Clarissa being insecure with a press pass. And insecurity with a press pass is the most expensive ticket in entertainment because every show ends the same way, with the audience finally seeing the seams, with the audience finally putting the pieces together, with the audience finally going from sympathy to side-eye to silence to scrolling past your name without a flicker. That is the arc. That is always the arc. And you are sprinting through it on prime time, sprinting through it like the finish line is going to reward you. The finish line of that arc is not a trophy. The finish line of that arc is a quiet phone. Because here's what I think is really happening underneath all of it. I think you spent years feeling overlooked. I think you spent years watching prettier women, women with bodies that matched the narrow standard the world keeps demanding, get the magazine covers and the brand deals and the soft attention you secretly wanted. I think you carried that, quietly, the way a lot of women do. And then Pap walks into your life, and suddenly cameras follow you, and suddenly stylists answer your calls, and suddenly the makeup is sharper, and the lashes are longer, and the body looks different, and the hair is laid, and the lighting is right. And that is fine. Glow up, eat, bask, but do not stand on the stage and pretend the new mirror is the one you are always looking into. Because we remember. The internet remembers. The footage is right there. And the footage is a never lost a fight. Not once. Not against PR, not against image consultants, not against a fresh face card, not against a rebrand. The footage always wins. Always. And the footage on you is sitting in a folder, patient, dated, timestamped, ready. I'm going to say this with my whole chest because somebody needs to. When Pap met you, you were not who you are presenting now. You were not even close. The dresses were giving WWE, the styling was giving In Living Color, and if you don't know what I mean, go pull up Vera, that Whistler character Jim Carrey used to do, back when In Living Color was the funniest hour on television, and you will see the resemblance the internet has been too polite to put into a clip. The hair was rough, the fits were not flattering, the presentation was not where it is now. And that's not me being cruel, that's me being precise. Because the lie you keep telling yourself is that Pap chose you because you were always this fully realized vision of glamour. That is not what happened. He met you in a vulnerable, in-between version of yourself after he was leaving a woman who, agree her or not, has been a culture-defining beauty in this industry for decades. So whatever the calculation was, it was not, my goodness, look at this magazine cover walking. Be honest, with yourself first, then with us. The healing starts in the mirror, not in the press release. The healing starts in the quiet, not in the comments section. The healing starts when you stop performing long enough to feel what's actually under the costume. And while we're being honest, can we talk about Pap's choices in this? Because every interview he does, he's doing too much. Every podcast he sits down for, he's doing too much. Every red carpet, every freestyle, every staged moment, he's doing too much. You are pushing for a man to fight over you. You wanted to see him almost throw hands with 50 Cent over Remy. You wanted to see him actually go to blows with Easy the Block Captain over Remy. And now, with you, he has not had to throw a single punch over your honor. Not one. And I am not saying violence is the measure of love. Of course it is not. But let us be clear. You are watching the man you are with prove, scene by scene, that the energy he reserved for protecting Remy is energy he simply does not summon for you. That is not me saying it. The footage is saying it. The footage is screaming it. And you are turning the volume down on yourself just to keep the script alive. You are editing your own life in real time just to keep the storyline coherent for a public that already stopped buying the DVD. The DVD has been in the bargain bin for 2 seasons. And maybe, just maybe, that is the part you are trying to drown out with all the loud interviews and all the rewritten origin stories. Because if you sit still in a quiet room for 10 minutes, you have to face a question you do not want to face. Do I really have what Remy had, or am I just standing in the empty space she left behind? And before you flinch at that question, understand that asking it is not cruelty. Asking it is the only kind of self-respect that survives a relationship like this one. Self-respect that does not ask hard questions is just vanity wearing a wig. And the wig is hot, and the wig is itchy, and the wig is going to come off eventually whether you take it off or not. Pap, the same question is on your nightstand. Are you really living your truth, or are you just running through the gift shop of a life that was always supposed to belong to a younger, hungrier, less evolved version of you? The Versace shirts, the bottles, the flashing, the loud bars, the cameras, the fights, the narratives that switch depending on which interview chair you are warming. None of it is the work of a settled man. It's the work of a man who is finally getting served the meal he was too proud to order, and now he's eating with both hands and pretending he's on a diet. And the audience can tell. The audience can always tell. The only person at the table who cannot see the food on his face is the man who keeps insisting he's not hungry. Everybody else in the restaurant has put their fork down. Everybody else in the restaurant is staring, and you're still chewing, with sauce on your chin, with crumbs on your shirt, with a napkin you refuse to use because using it would mean admitting the meal is real. Take a break from the cameras, both of you. Genuinely, take a real break. Not a fake break where you announce the break and then come back 2 days later because the comments slowed down. A real break. Because every time you open your mouths right now, the story gets messier, the contradictions multiply, the mask slips further, and the goodwill that took Pap 2 decades to build is being burned at the rate of a small grease fire in a kitchen nobody is supervising. Goodwill is not a renewable resource when you keep treating it like a punching bag. You spend it, it's gone. You light it on fire, it does not grow back. And every interview right now is another match. Another match in a house that has already taken on too much smoke. The neighbors are calling. The neighbors are asking if they smell what they smell. And you keep insisting it's just incense. It's not incense. It's the entire foundation. And if you don't put down the matches soon, there won't be a house left to renovate when the cameras finally turn off. And to the audience watching this, the part you have to understand is that we are not just gossiping. We are watching a real-time case study in how identity collapses when ego finally gets unsupervised access to the spotlight. Pap is not the first man to do this. He will not be the last. Clarissa is not the first woman to mistake proximity to a story for being the story. She will not be the last. But this couple, this exact moment, this exact rebrand is the loudest example we have right now of what happens when 2 people with old wounds and fresh cameras decide to outrun the truth instead of sitting with it. And the truth, when you outrun it, does not get tired. It gets patient. It just waits for you to stop. And both of you are running out of stamina. You can hear it in the interviews. You can hear it in the pauses. You can hear it in the way the laughter sounds rehearsed and the answers sound auditioned. You are tired. We can tell. Even your most loyal supporters can tell. And they are starting to phrase their defenses in past tense, which is a tell of its own. The receipts are not going anywhere. The interviews are archived. The contradictions are clipped. The body of evidence is growing every week. And one day, maybe sooner than either of you think, the audience is going to stop debating it and start agreeing on it. And on that day, no Versace shirt and no rewritten origin story will be loud enough to drown it out. Because once the room agrees, the room moves. And once the room moves, no podcast clip is bringing it back, no long apology video, no tearful sit down, no carefully worded statement. The room moves once. And after that, you are not in it anymore. You are an asterisk. You are a footnote. You are the cautionary tale somebody else uses to make their own come up look graceful by comparison. Think about what we are really watching here. We're watching a man who used to walk into a room with the quiet weight of a man who had nothing to prove, slowly transform into a man whose whole presence has become a billboard begging the room to please look at him. We're watching a woman who earned every gold around her neck in a sport that demands blood and discipline, slowly trade that quiet credibility for a microphone she keeps using to swing at women who never even said her name. That is not growth. That is regression dressed in sequins. And the people who love you, the real ones, the ones who do not need a paycheck from your relevance, those people are watching this with worry, not envy, worry. Not hate. There is a difference. And if you can't tell the difference anymore, that's a sign too. A sign that the people closest to you have stopped being mirrors and started being audiences. And once your inner circle becomes an audience, the show you're putting on becomes the only show you know how to perform, even when the curtain should have closed an hour ago, even when the lights are flickering, even when the stagehands have started sweeping. The internet did not invent your contradictions. The internet just stopped letting you hide them. And once the hiding is over, the only path forward is honesty. Not the kind of honesty you rehearse in front of a publicist, the kind of honesty that scares you, the kind of honesty that costs you something, because that's the only honesty the audience trusts anymore. So, Papoose, Clarissa, last time. Be honest with yourselves. Be honest with each other. Be honest with the people who used to root for you. Because the longer you keep selling this dream, the more pathetic the performance is starting to look. And I'm not saying that to be cruel. I'm saying it because somebody who actually remembers who you used to be should be the one to say it. Before the people who never liked you in the first place finish writing the obituary. They're already typing. Do not give them the headline. Do not gift wrap the closing chapter for the people who never wanted you to win in the first place. Do not let the worst voices in the room tell the final version of your story. The pen is still in your hand. Barely, but it's still there. If you felt this, if you've been thinking exactly what I just said but didn't have the words for it, leave a like, leave a comment, tell me where you stand. Tag the friend who's been arguing with you about this couple for 3 news cycles, because we're not done. The next chapter of this story is already being written, and trust me when I tell you, what's coming next is going to make this conversation look like the warm-up. So, check out the next video on your end screen right now, and let's keep the lights on. All the way on. Because the truth doesn't flinch, and neither do we. Heat. And while the cameras keep rolling, while the podcasts keep booking, while the comment sections keep arguing, the one thing nobody is doing is asking the simplest question of all. Who benefits from this performance? And who pays the bill when the curtain finally drops? Because somebody's paying. Somebody is always paying. And right now it's starting to look like the bill is in the mail and both of your names are on the envelope in bold with the return address marked from the last version of yourselves you abandoned.